Ayo,
Ayo.
what's up? This is not our
Were we doing
usual.
Queen? The
What?
Ayo.
No, I was just doing
Yeah,
an
we should,
AO.
we should do that. That's a good intro.
Okay, maybe we should have done it. Well, our normal intro guy
Ayo.
isn't here, so we gotta make with the intro we
Yeah.
got because our main guy isn't here. So this is our college football episode, week 5. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. Virginia Tech and Miami was pretty nuts. I think like the biggest thing is like the whole catch thing. So we'll just go right there. What do you think?
It was tough to tell, like in the moment.
Yeah.
So after about 40 replays, to me,
40.
it's honestly, like it just kept going. Like
It
they,
might,
they,
it might,
they
it might have
were
been
reviewing
40.
it for so long. I think that the ball was on a Miami player's leg.
Yeah.
And then it was like kind of gotten by the Virginia Tech guy,
Yeah.
and then I didn't think it was a catch.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny to see the elation and I don't think depression is the right word, but
The emotional swings,
there we go, the emotional swings. That's
because it was Miami going crazy, and then it
yeah,
was Virginia Tech going crazy, and
yeah.
then everyone just not knowing what the heck is going
What's
on.
going on, right? So yeah, it's I part of me wishes that they caught it because like what an ending to a game, but like
Yeah.
a little bit more clearly so it wasn't like
Yeah.
shrouded in controversy.
Yeah.
But I think that it was the accurate call. Like there wasn't enough to, well, they did call it a touchdown
They
field,
called it a
and
touchdown. That's the problem.
that's what's tough to like have indisputable evidence to overturn it.
Yeah. So that's my thing is, to me, was it a catch? No. However, was there enough to overturn the call on the field? Also, no.
Yeah,
Like, I always say this, and it's more noticeable when you're sitting at the game and it's just taking forever to review a play, and it's just like, well, if it's taking this long to look at something, isn't that indisputable? Like, that means you do not have enough to definitely say, oh, it should definitely go the other way, which is the
yeah,
whole point of the rule. It's either clear cut or it's not. And we talked a bit on Saturday. I was like, how do we not have better cameras at this point? It's all blurry. You can't see anything. I don't know how we don't have better cameras, and I
probably
don't.
the chip with the or chip in the ball or something. Like
I
they
think
could use that with like for like first downs more so, but like something
just
some more advanced technology
more
or something like that.
cameras or something like that around the end zone or something like that. It like I said, it's 2024. We're too far along with technology to be looking at 2005 college football graphics from the original Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it
Yeah,
looked like we were
that
looking
yeah.
at. And yeah, I mean, Miami wins at the end of the day. I don't think it really affects them. I don't think Virginia Tech is as bad as what their record is, which is 2-3 now, I think.
Yeah. But
But
a couple observations I had from the game was like that was my first real time watching Cam Ward, and I was impressed overall. Still, like there was still some throws that he had that he wasn't too accurate with. Like he overthrew some guys here, like on the run, and
mhm,
it wasn't as crisp as I would like. But he
yeah,
had plenty plays where it's like, okay, you're going to see that on his potential Heisman reel, right? I think it was
yeah,
in the fourth quarter where he had that, like he was going to get sacked by two different guys, and he just kind of did a shovel pass
yeah,
to a player, and I think he got like close to a touchdown, or
yeah,
definitely over a first down. But I overall I came away impressed with how he.
yeah. I think the thing is too, from like, if you're looking at it from like an NFL scout perspective, is for me, I definitely like to see what he can definitely improve on than him playing so perfect in college. You have no idea what you're getting in the NFL.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
like, it's
the
very
product
clear
of like
what
the
he needs
system
to
and
work
everything.
on.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, and I think I'm a little, I don't want to say hesitant for Miami next week because they play Cal next week. That one's at home.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, no, that's at Cal. That is at Cal.
Okay.
So Miami's favored by 10.5, but
Yeah.
I with such an emotional win like that where they really could have lost that to a better than their record says team in Virginia Tech. But
Yeah.
would not be surprised if there was a bit of a letdown in terms of performance against Cal because it is at least record wise a better team. They're going all the way to
Yeah.
the West, and they're coming off this. I don't want to say miraculous win, but in some ways miraculous, right? Like I'm always a little hesitant the week after such an emotional um, type game like this was.
Yeah, I could see that. I think this is where like the coach is gonna prove how good of a coach he is. Are you gonna have the guys like focused and ready, or is it gonna be a situation like you're saying where they kind of get down in the dirt because they just had to fight for their lives to stay alive? And it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, oh, now here we go again. Now we're playing a presumed better team.
Right, right. And if I'm not mistaken, too, with Cam Ward, he did have some turnovers, and
Yeah,
it you know on the road against a some would say better opponent, you got to clean it up. That's not going to
for
fly.
sure.
Especially like
No.
on the road, like you're gonna hear from those fans of Cal, and they're gonna let
But
you know.
even more than Cal, like Clemson is starting to look not as bad as everyone thought.
Yeah.
So they're picking it up a little bit.
Mhm.
And then I I, I don't know. There's too many points in the season I think they could slip if they continue to play like that.
Mhm.
I'm actually thinking they're going to go the opposite way. I think they're going. I, I think they're going to have a really good game against Cal. That's just me coming from like that coach's perspective of I think he'll have the guys a little bit more prepared and just a little bit more focused because now he can use it as a hey, we won, but look how close we were to not winning.
Yeah,
Some may say they shouldn't have won because the call should have been inconclusive.
yeah, and those, like I said, with the emotional type games, they can go either way. Like it can either kind of deflate a team for the next week, or it can
It's sink
kind
or
of
swim.
rejuvenate them. Right? Yeah,
It's sink or swim.
I tend to think of more of the like be careful with them. Don't really expect them to live up to the hype that they showed after their last win. But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they won, but I'm also a little hesitant to see how they play again.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they I don't think they make it look pretty,
Mhm.
but I do think they look good enough where they might cover the spread.
Yeah, yeah,
I think so.
hmm
We could talk about Ole Miss's hiccup. They lose to Kentucky,
yeah,
20-17. Missed field goal at the end by Ole
yep,
Miss.
yep,
Um, just Ole, I I said it a few weeks ago. Ole Miss is just one of those teams that are always going to have those one or two games a year where they blow it.
hmm
They blow it. They're in excellent position. They're number 6 in the country, literally right in the middle of the playoff, and then they lose. They get shot down to I believe number 12 now, which we'll talk about later.
yeah.
But yeah, just not a good look. And I, but does it look a little bit better because Kentucky nearly beat Georgia?
That's what I was gonna
I
say. Like
mean,
I think
it,
I think we should
yeah,
maybe like respect Kentucky a little bit more because they just took two top 10 ranked teams in the nation, like
yeah,
right down to the wire.
yeah,
Right, the Kentucky game against Georgia was home, so but this one is at Ole Miss. Not an easy place
yeah.
to play. So I think
If
that
they can win out the rest of the year, watch out
yeah, yeah, they're
for
they're,
sure.
they're and they've showed that it wasn't like just a flash in the bottle because you get
Right.
some of these games sometimes like not to throw your team in there, but
Mhm.
there's been a couple times that Army has come close to beating like a top 10 team. They played, I believe it was at Oklahoma, at
Mhm.
Michigan. They came
Mhm.
so close, right?
Mhm.
And when they play a team of a similar caliber, that they don't play nearly as good. But
Mhm.
twice, Kentucky has gone toe to toe with two of the perceived top teams in
Yeah.
the nation. So it's kind of impressive, and I'm excited to see where they go from here for sure.
Yeah. Um, Not too much other than time of possession was kind of nuts. I kind of highlighted here for pretty much 40 minutes to 20 minutes. That's
Hey,
crazy.
that's kind of the ideal way that you can win, though. If you dominate time of possession against
Yeah.
these high-powered offenses. Like I would say Ole Miss is that with Jackson Dart, right?
Yeah.
And just control the game. That's your recipe to win, and it proved to work
Can't
out. And
score if
they
they're not
were
on the field.
yeah, and then you were trying to do that same thing against Georgia, and it almost worked.
Yeah.
You know, so
And the
that's
difference is just being it's Georgia. That's literally that's the difference.
yeah,
Uh, Illinois, Penn State won 21-7. Didn't look very pretty. Obviously, we both were limited on the games we watched. We were at the Boston College Western Kentucky game. Um,
we should talk about that at some point.
I
Just to get
will.
my thoughts on it, but
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
stick with
talk
Penn
about that
State
at
on
the
that.
end.
Yeah,
Um, the only thing for me is I don't think either of these teams wins the Big Ten. I think
God,
there's going to be a massive
it's
fallout for both
stacked.
teams.
Yeah.
It's there's no way. The Big Ten, especially now, is so stacked.
Yeah, exactly. And I've kind of beat this over the head, but Drew Alar
Hmm.
supposed to be a top 10 quarterback in the nation. Like I think I saw like Big Ten
Yeah,
quarterback rankings,
yeah,
and he was at the top. I
I
forgot where
saw
that was
that. I
coming
saw
from,
that too.
but like, are we sure about that? Because when it comes to playing good teams, he doesn't really show up too well, right? Like he has 135 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, which is good, but not really lighting up, And yes,
No,
the Illinois is a formidable opponent, but
they're a better team than previous years
right.
for
But
sure.
you'd like to see more out of a guy that's supposed to be a guy, right? I
Yeah,
think he's still like on the younger side compared to some of these other quarterbacks, but still, if you expect this guy to take you to a playoff and
yeah.
win you at least one
Never
game,
mind playoff. Compete with Ohio State and Michigan.
right.
I
Like
forget about the playoff.
this is just the first test of many coming up for Penn
Yeah,
State, and uh, not next week, the week after. I'm pretty sure they play USC, so that's another big test for him, for them too. But this is the time when you're playing what I think is the quote unquote lesser Big Ten
yeah,
opponents. Like a bigger would be like Ohio State and lesser extent
yeah,
Michigan. Uh, but this is the time to really start getting things going and get into your best form so you can be
yeah.
really prepared for those games and playing in your best.
I think everyone would have felt a little bit better about Penn State if not necessarily blow them out, but if they actually looked very consistent on offense. They didn't look very consistent.
Yeah, to give them credit though, with their looking at their defensive stats, like they did get an interception on Altmaier,
There's no
7
question.
sacks.
There's definitely no question that their defense is good.
Yeah, and
Definitely no
that's
question there.
that's fine that your defense can carry you, but you want to at some point be able to rely on your offense too when the defense isn't
The
quite
offense
clicking.
still has to score points to win.
It does. You're right.
And when you let's say you turn around and you're playing Ohio State, who has a little bit higher offense than Illinois,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to keep up. Like your defense is gonna do part of it, but as an offense, you're gonna have to control the ball a bit, make sure your defense doesn't get burnt out
Yeah.
playing all the crazy talented guys they have.
Hmm.
So uh, it doesn't, in my opinion, it's not going to look good for Penn State. I think they have better chances of beating Michigan because just I don't know if they've definitely played Michigan this year in the regular
Yes, I,
season. I don't know
I
how the Big Ten schedule looks out.
and I think after this year, like some of the quote unquote like rivalries, like I know
Yeah,
Ohio
are gonna
State. I don't think they play Penn State next year, which kind of sucks because like at
yeah,
least
okay.
since I've started watching, it's a yearly thing. But I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure that they will be playing Michigan later this year, and that's one that is going to stay
okay.
consistent. Yeah,
Like I like their chances better against Michigan because Michigan's offense has just been I kind of non-existent really.
Khalil Mullings,
And
that's the
just
offense.
Yeah, and just being able to make it a defensive game, I think they'll have a shot in that one, but in terms of Ohio State just they've got few too many weapons. Granted, we gotta see Ohio State actually play like, you know, that Big Ten competition too,
Yeah,
but
and this
it's
is
still
that's coming up too. So since you mentioned that, if you let me get my little Ohio State corner in too. So
Mhm.
this is going to be a really big stretch for them. They have Iowa this week, then Oregon, Nebraska, Penn State, and then it's a little bit easier before they get towards Indiana and Michigan. But
Mhm.
this is a big stretch for them because they're playing better teams like Iowa's defense. That's their whole team essentially. Uh, Obviously at
Yeah.
Oregon, huge, the biggest college football Saturday of the year, and then Nebraska's
Yeah.
up and coming, and Penn State too. So this is a really important stretch for them. I'm still
Yeah.
pleased with how they've been. I think with the offense, like Will Howard, he had some questionable throws, but he had some really, really
For
great
sure.
throws too to Jeremiah Smith, who I would
Yeah.
like to say that he's the best freshman wide receiver in the nation, but Ryan Williams also
Yeah.
exists, so there's a little bit
Yeah.
more of a. We'll talk about him later, right? But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
there's more of a conversation there, but they dominated Michigan State
Yeah.
uh, on defense. Like they bunch of turnovers. They controlled that whole game.
Yeah.
So they're
If
still
Will
coming
Howard
strong.
can kinda clean up those few mental mistakes of throwing into double and triple coverage,
Yeah,
they'll be pretty okay.
they just have so many outlets too. Like Emeka Ibuka, he had some big plays. Jeremiah Smith, like I mentioned, and then Judkins and Henderson. They're still like having
Mhm.
those big runs that we expect from them. So
Yeah.
this upcoming stretch is going to be huge for them.
Also, Will Howard coming from Kansas State and then going to Ohio State and having all these weapons all over the place, he probably gets a little overwhelmed at times
Embarrassment of riches, yeah,
because
and it's crazy too because Emeka Ibuka, he was projected to be a first round pick,
yeah.
and he's arguably not even the best receiver anymore with
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith.
That's what I'm
Because he's
saying.
always open. And I
Yeah,
love this quote
overwhelming.
from him. Yeah, I love this quote from Jeremiah Smith after the game. They were talking about like 50-50 balls, and he's like, "They're not 50-50 balls with me." And I'm like, "That's so true." Like he's gonna come down with them. Anyway, I'll stop hyping my team up. We'll get back on track here.
No, it's fine. It was kinda Big Ten talk, and
Yeah,
obviously, the big thing for Penn State is obviously those 2 games with Michigan and Ohio State, and
yeah. That's usually
it's
where they
just not
stumble
gonna work out.
throughout their past
Yeah.
few years. So
Yeah, which is okay. It's like one of those things I was talking about the other week. You gotta know who you are, and you gotta know who you're playing against every year. It's not easy to be playing Michigan and Ohio State every single year.
mhm.
Moving on, Arizona upsets Utah. Utah, another team I said a few weeks ago with Ole Miss that they're always gonna be that team that blows 1 or 2 of those just stupid games a year, and they do it now, and I in my opinion, this should drop Utah so far out. That's another discussion, but in my opinion, they should just be far away from the top 12.
Yeah, I mean they are without their old man quarterback. So they can
They've
get
been
them.
without he's been in and out so many there's a reason he's year 7 or 8 into his career.
Yeah,
He doesn't stay on
uh,
the field.
that's true. Yeah, but and what I one thing I didn't know that was the Utes quarterback is Zach Wilson's brother. I had no
Really?
idea. Just learned that the other day. Um, yeah, I watched this game briefly on our way back from Boston.
Mhm.
Utah just, I mean, it was. I don't want to say it was a wrap at this point. It was sometime in the third or fourth quarter, but Utah couldn't move the ball. Like they just did not look good at all. They couldn't get into scoring position at all. I think that when I watched I watched one of two interceptions from Wilson. I think his name was
Mhm.
Luke. I could be, I don't know. Not Zach. I can tell you that. But yeah. So that like I think they should still be top 25, given the benefit of the doubt. But
Yeah, top
it's
25 for sure, but I don't think they should be touching like top 12.
no. And from what I know of Arizona too, like they got that. I don't know how the hell to pronounce their quarterback's name or that really good wide receiver too.
Yeah.
But they do have some
Yeah.
there. So I don't think it's a terrible loss, but definitely not something you want to see from the 10th ranked team in the country.
I would say Ole Miss's loss to Kentucky is much better than Utah's to Arizona,
Yeah,
though.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just in
Totally.
terms of its SEC, Kentucky held in with Georgia, as we talked about.
Mhm.
Utah kind of, I don't really know if they beat anybody this year.
I don't think they
I,
have.
I don't think they really have, so they don't really have anything to hang their hats on.
Mhm.
So I don't know, like we didn't watch the game, so that's all I got to say about that game.
Yeah,
Uh, Obviously, Michigan somehow pulls another win out of their behinds against Minnesota, despite another lackluster performance in the passing game.
yeah. Let's see. Let's get the weekly double digit yardage check. 86 yards from Alex Orgy this week.
Mind blowing.
And yet again, over 100 for Cleo Mullings. He is their offense.
I will have
flat
you
out.
know, both Army and Navy quarterbacks have had multiple games where they've thrown for over 100 yards.
That is terrible for Michigan because for
So,
those that don't know, it does Navy. Wait, you said Navy's quarterback too?
yeah,
Okay, they run triple option.
yeah,
That's just a running offense. They
yeah.
should not be passing that for that many yards. That's terrible.
It's
It's
literally
horrible.
it's literally 90% running the
Oh my
football and
god.
10% passing.
Yeah,
And we'll talk about it later, but actually, Navy's quarterback is fifth for Heisman right now.
that's impressive.
But
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just when I can make a comparison like that, that is not good.
no.
But then again, they are still winning games. So
Yeah, I mean, give him credit for that, but I still they're not performing up to obviously their standard last year, which
yeah,
you shouldn't expect them to with how much they had lost,
right.
and
They're finding a way.
they're finding a way, but they have to get the passing game fixed because you can't rely like
That
you
ain't
can't expect it to
gonna
beat
work
these
for
yeah nationally ranked teams like
yeah,
next week they
yeah.
go to
And
Washington.
if they get into the playoffs and they're playing teams like Alabama, Texas, Georgia, like
That's a wrap.
that ain't gonna cut it.
No, no.
Especially with the fireworks that Georgia and Alabama
I
just
was
put
just
on.
gonna say, like we'll talk about it in a bit, but like
Yeah.
there's no chance they'd be hanging in that game. Like Alabama
No,
went up what 30-7 or
7.
whatever, yeah. And the first half, they went on
Michigan
to
would have
like
been cooked.
70-10.
Michigan would have been cooked
Yeah, yeah. So they go to Washington next week, which Washington isn't the Washington of last year, but
for sure. Not.
still a tough environment to play.
Yeah.
And I'm interested because I'm pretty sure Michigan has played all of their games at home so far. Maybe one
Really?
away. I could be wrong on that, but they played Texas at home. Wait, was Minnesota away? I don't think it was
I kind of want to look
away.
this up because that kind
Yeah,
of be
check that. They were home last week. Yep, home against USC. Yep. Uh, home against they've all been home. So this is their
yep.
to be fair, like
Over
Ohio State's first road game was last week, so sometimes they wait a little bit to
that
get
is
on the road, I guess.
insane how that schedule works.
That's how they like that. At least in my time watching, that's kind of how some of these schedules are with like Big Ten teams. Like just a lot of home games to start the season, then kind of away mixed in here, but definitely more home than away. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so this is a test for them too. Just to they have their I'll begrudgingly say great fans that they have. They have
Yeah.
the big house, biggest stadium in the country, whatever.
Yeah.
But they have that support with them when they're at home. Not going to have that at Washington.
No. We'll see how that goes.
Mhm.
Um, could be an interesting game for sure. I'm just thinking about it because, like you said, Washington's not the same team, and they really are not the same team. It's not even like it's close.
No, and the same thing with Michigan though. They lost a ton of talent. Like they're basically
Yeah.
their whole
The
offense.
difference right now is Michigan's defense. That's the difference.
Yeah, they're still at an elite level.
Yeah. Um, Notre Dame beats Louisville. Honestly, not a whole lot to talk about here other than does this win kind of even keel with the loss to Northern Illinois for Notre Dame? Personally, I don't really think so.
No,
It's Louisville. Yeah, they're number 16 and definitely a respected opponent, but it's not like they went out and beat any of those top 12 teams, Oregon or Tennessee or Georgia or any of that. So,
it doesn't
um,
avenge that loss, but
yeah,
it does help their
it helps.
case for a playoff spot. Sure,
Notre Dame can't afford another loss.
they cannot, absolutely not. And
Not a
looking
chance.
at their upcoming games, they got Georgia Tech in a couple weeks. That might be an interesting one. They have Navy. I believe
Yeah,
it's at Navy too, and how they're playing right now, they're undefeated. So that might be a
yeah,
tougher game than they expected.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to see if they have any other notable ones. I don't see any
yeah.
really.
They also play Army.
And they play Army too. So
Yeah,
that
like
again,
both service
that's
academies.
tougher than what you think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
We'll see how.
they
I
hopefully they don't drop it. Well, I don't personally like Notre Dame a ton, but for their sake, hopefully they don't drop another stupid game like we've seen them do.
I liked Notre Dame a lot less when Brian Kelly was there. Now they're tolerable for me.
I like Marcus Freeman a lot. I think he's a good
Yeah.
coach and he's a likable guy. What I also like, and I don't know if you've noticed this, the connection with the ND lacrosse team and the football team is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I first was exposed to this when I was watching ND lacrosse,
Mhm.
and they had like a big game. I don't know. I can't exactly remember what game this
I
was.
know
A
what
big
you're
game,
talking
but
about.
it's every single year. The football team comes to the games and they go bananas.
Yeah.
Like they're just so
Shirts
into it. I
off.
love it. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And the lacrosse team did that
Yeah.
for this previous game
There's not
at Notre
a
Dame.
lot of colleges that have that kind of connection
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
it's awesome, and especially like Notre Dame lacrosse too, getting more recognition
Yeah.
since they're back-to-back national champs too, just like kind of
Yeah.
getting that exposure. And then uh, I believe he plays wide receiver, Jordan Faison.
Yeah.
He's getting
He
some,
plays both.
yeah, yeah, and he's getting some recognition too. It's not like
Yeah.
he's just some scrub on the football team where he's not playing a ton. Like he actually is getting some time on the field, and we know we can do he can do in lacrosse. He's quite good at that too.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Kansas State blows out Oklahoma State. Can't say I'm surprised. Oklahoma State is pretty much done at this point. Playoff contention is out, I'd say.
Yeah, what do they have? Do they have 2 losses?
Yeah, two. This would be 2 losses.
And I think I mentioned this earlier in the season, but Ollie Garden, can't talk. Ollie Gordon, I kept hearing he was the best running back in the nation. Uh,
Again,
15 attempts, 76 yards. Like, yeah, I'm not seeing much. I don't know.
no,
Like if you have that label on you at the beginning of the season, you expect to show out at some point, and we really haven't seen it a ton. You would like to see it against good opponents and not just some scrub team, but he really hasn't shown it.
no. Um, uh, Oklahoma, another one of those teams that they just can never get enough to string together a serious run at the championship. And Mike Gundy, is that his name? Uh, you can't
Oh
really get
man,
rid of
number
him.
40.
Yeah,
He's been there since like at least
he's been
'07.
there
That's
so
my
long.
first time
He's been there
exposed to him.
so long,
Yeah.
but you can't even just get rid of him because like it goes back to that other conversation we had with like, okay, if you get rid of him, who are you getting? Who are you gonna hire?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
You
think
think
there's a
he would step down at
distinct
some point.
that could be this year.
it's, it,
That
it's
could be
yeah,
this year.
it's I mean, he's been there so freaking long.
Yeah, yeah. So they might be looking for just a change of scenery or just him just looking for a change. But we'll get into the craziness now. Alabama, Georgia. We were at the Sam Adams. Was the
Tap room. Yeah.
tap room?
In Quincy Market. Yeah.
Yeah, watching this thing, and we're sitting there playing card games. It's 30-7. It's like, dang,
Thank
what the
God we
heck
got the
happened? It was something
cards
like you
because like
yeah, good thing we
we had
got
nothing to do.
cards
We're not
because
watching a good game here.
yeah, this is bad. And then you look back up, and Georgia storms back. Um, I to me, it's impressive that Georgia was able to come back from that, but it's equally as impressive that Alabama was able to survive that
Because usually,
because
when you get to that point of like, oh my God, we blew this lead,
yeah,
it's just like, all right,
yeah,
that's it. Like you got no chance. Like the
so
momentum
many teams in the
completely
past have
shifted.
blown it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And I just like credit to both teams, obviously, because like I said, it wasn't easy either way. But Georgia could have easily got dusted
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, yeah. And I think say this had happened at Georgia where Alabama goes up by that
Mhm.
much. If it's swung in the way that it did, and then they ended up taking the lead, I think they would have kept it. Like with just like the
Mhm.
home field advantage that
Yeah.
brings. Um, but yeah, I have to say, like watching the first half, and it got a little bit better in the second half, but still not where I would like it. Like Carson Beck, he did end up having an okay game. He had 3 picks.
Yeah.
That's you can't have that against Alabama.
And I also think he had a bad game against the last time he played, which was
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, yeah. So 3
So
touchdowns for him,
two
and
bad games in a row, or
yep,
two okay games in a row. I shouldn't
yeah,
say bad.
439 yards passing and 50 attempts, which they had to being down that much, right?
Yeah.
Um, he had some good throws, some just bonehead mistakes, and you expect a little bit more from you know the guy that led you to a perfect regular season and almost making it to the playoff, just losing the SEC championship.
Yeah,
And give him credit for sure to come back in this game and um, make it a game. If
yeah,
I remember correctly, too, at the end of the game, like I think he threw another pick to end the game too,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I do remember now. Yeah, it was a stupid play
Yep.
uh, towards the other side of the field, I think.
Because they had two, I think they had two timeouts left. There was like a minute something left, and instead of just doing what they were doing, which was kind of dink and dunk, he decided to take a shot, and
Yeah.
it got picked off, and it wasn't a
Get
good
well
throw
back in.
really
Right, right.
either.
That's right. Exactly it. Yeah, yeah. So he had a few of those where he just tried to get it all back in one play,
Yeah,
and just obviously didn't work out.
that's
But
happened so much with just every team really around. Like they get down and they just want it back all in one shot. It's like you don't need
yeah,
it in one shot.
no, you got plenty of time, and you just gotta operate the offense. Don't make
They were
stupid
well
mistakes and get
into
down.
good territory. They were well into Alabama's
That's right.
side of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't really know what happened. Maybe they thought the dinking and dunking was eventually going to wear out because it's Alabama and eventually they're going to make a play.
Mhm.
So they kind of want to. They probably wanted to get one above them just to be like, okay, we can hit this one play, score the touchdown, and then we don't have to run 15 more plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But it comes at a risk, and it wasn't a great one.
Mhm.
Last week, when we were kind of, I think we might have been picking this game. I said I think the difference is going to be Jalen Milroe's legs, and certainly was. I
Huge
mean,
difference.
rushed over 100 yards, escaped how many potential sacks. If you can't get him down and you can't contain him, there's no way. And
The
not
guy's
only that,
fast.
but
He's so fast. Yeah.
he also like I think he improved as a passer too.
Yeah, that's where he was kind of lacking
Yeah,
last year, and I do definitely see some progress in his game, for sure with the passing specifically. But I mean, he counted for oh over 400 yards, almost 500 yards of both
yeah,
rushing and passing. So like he was kind of
yeah,
the whole offense, if you will.
yeah,
They didn't really get too much from the running backs, but yeah, I was most impressed with him in that game. But I will say, up until that last drive with hitting Ryan Williams for the long touchdown, he didn't really do much to maintain the lead, right? Like he
no,
kind of just maybe got complacent. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I think I mentioned this. I When we were in Boston, if Nick Saban was coaching, I don't think they blow that lead.
no, I don't think they do either.
And
He stays on their ass. Yeah,
that's not a shot at DeBoer, or I think that's his name.
yeah, Caleb War.
Yeah, that's not a shot at him. It's just Nick Saban had them so, I guess you should say, militarized.
Yeah,
I don't think they would blow that lead.
mm,
It's a little bit more of a fun environment, and they got the captain's patches on now, and they're dancing and having fun, and
yeah.
I don't think it would have been the case if Saban was there. So I think they could have gotten a little bit comfortable with the lead, but also on the other side of that, you got to be like, okay, to hold off Georgia for a full 60 minutes, that is almost impossible.
But
And that's
still, they up until the touchdown,
yeah,
what did they? Let's see. They scored like just a field goal
yeah,
like that. You
they
can't
were
have
shut
that.
down pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot have that. Like you gotta. I don't want to say like keep the throttle on completely, like you're playing from
Yeah,
behind, but like you
but
said, you're
that's kind of what I'm saying though. Is I don't know if it was necessarily them taking that throttle off, and it was just a lot more of Georgia being Georgia
mhm,
and actually being that good of a team.
yeah, yeah. I think Georgia played great when they came back, but still sloppy here and there. Obviously, in the first half, just terribly sloppy. But let's kind of
Yeah,
get to that Ryan Williams too, because the play that he made
yeah.
is just at 17 years old too is just
He's such a natural.
believable. Yeah. Same thing with like Jeremiah Smith. They're freshmen
Naturals.
and they're already better than some seniors, right? And
Yeah.
just not only the catch itself along the sideline, like kind of like twisting around, but
Yeah.
just the maneuverability between the two guys that were on him
Yeah.
to blow
That's what I was
past
gonna
him. And
say, because he did that spin move, but it wasn't
yeah,
like a full speed spin move. He kinda
right.
did like a slow motion spin while he was watching where they were at. So, like,
Yeah,
and it just incredible.
yeah, yeah. It's like here we go again. Alabama has a top talent at wide receiver,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's really impressive
Shocker.
that he's such an elite player already, and that's only going to help Jalen Milroe too, right? Where we
For
said that his
sure.
passing game wasn't up to snuff last year, and to have that
A guy
guy,
that you can throw downfield and be
yeah,
completely comfortable with it.
yeah, kind of like
Yeah,
what like I
that's
said,
gonna help.
what Jeremiah Smith said earlier, 50-50 ball isn't a 50-50 ball with him.
Yeah.
Right, he's
It's
probably gonna come
100%
down with
this
it.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so super impressive, and let me say too, with this game, like, this is why you watch college football.
Yeah.
Top 4 matchup, 2 rivals, a back and forth end of the game with just a miraculous play to finish it, like, what a good time this was.
Absolute dogfight.
This is why I'm happy that you helped get me into college
Yeah.
football because, like, they're games like this are what you keep watching for, right? They keep things
Yeah.
so interesting,
It's
and there's such a
unmatched.
good time to watch. It really is,
It's
and then
unmatched.
seeing the environment at Alabama too in the lead up to it, and
Yeah.
with the eventual winning touchdown, like it's
You
such a
you
cool
can
thing to
hear the
watch.
crowd, the lights are flashing on and
The
off.
passion of it all too.
Yeah. Every play seems like it could be the winning play.
Hmm.
It's intense. They didn't disappoint,
No,
and uh I don't I don't really know where to go from here. Alabama is they are number one now, and I think that's where they should be.
they
And
should be.
Georgia didn't drop down much at all, which is exactly what should have happened. So I'm glad there wasn't too much of a fallout for Georgia.
Yeah, and like I talked with you about this, but Georgia has plenty more tests on their schedule coming up in the SEC. There was no
Yeah,
way they were going to get out of this season unscathed with like no losses, just with the other SEC teams
yeah,
that they
no,
have to play and the other talent that's in the conference too. So
yeah,
this
with the
this
addition of
isn't a
Texas
terrible
and all
loss
that.
to have.
Mhm. Yeah, if I'm gonna lose, I'd want to lose to Alabama.
Hmm.
Uh, moving on, let's just go through the top 12 quick.
Before we do that, do you want to talk about BC and Western Kentucky since we're
Yeah, we
kind of
could do.
recapping games? Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
we could
went
do that.
there this weekend, and just because we're trying to do like new college football stadiums like every year. Last year, I think we might have mentioned we went to Ohio State, Penn State, and
Mhm.
this year we decided to take just a day trip up to Boston College. Um, Ended up being a great game, 21-20. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think about like the environment and the I guess the fans and everything like while the game was going on?
Well, it's tough because Western Kentucky really owned Boston College for majority of that game,
Yeah,
and they took the crowd out of it for pretty much 3/4 of it.
that's what I thought too. Really kind of flat.
Yeah, like they like Boston College fans didn't surprise me or anything,
Mhm,
but they started getting going when that second turnover happened,
mhm.
and that I think it was a strip sack or whatever. They really started to get into it, and
Yeah, and they got that touchdown that got them like within one
yeah,
score of coming back.
definitely a fun environment.
Mhm,
Um, it could be. I'd have to go to more. I've been to a lot of games, but I'd have to go to maybe another Boston College game to really get the feel,
mhm.
just because they didn't have their starting quarterback.
Yeah, that was one thing we were super excited about
Yeah,
too.
and then like they just played down so bad.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying Western Kentucky's a bad team. They're not. They're really
yeah.
not. They're probably one of the top group of five schools
Mhm.
or a group of whatever the heck it is now. Um, I can't keep track, but I was definitely expecting just the way BC has been this year. kind of a little bit more of a blowout,
Mhm.
but West Kentucky started hot, and I think the environment kind of took a dive,
Yeah.
and everyone was just kind of like, I think everyone was thinking the same thing, like BC's really about to lose this game right now.
Yeah, and it didn't even seem like, oh, like they could no, the offense was flat.
Flat, just
Completely flat,
non-existent.
not doing anything, couldn't throw the ball, a bunch of just stupid plays,
Yeah.
and, like, I was like, Is this gonna be a blowout?" Like, they were up, like
I was
I don't know
starting
if
to think it was
they
gonna be
might
a
have been
blowout
up,
the
like
other way.
yeah, yeah, I thought that they were maybe they were up, like, 21 nothing, 21-3 at some point, but they were up by a lot, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is getting a little hairy here." Um
For
But,
sure.
I think BC with their backup quarterback
Yeah.
did end up playing pretty good. Defense really, um, overall, they definitely picked it up in the second half and towards the end of the game. But as you and I know, there was a ton of Western Kentucky third downs, and we know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
because they have
yeah.
this horn that blares
Oh my
in
gosh, dude.
preparation for the third down. Which I get it. You want to get everyone amped up, but when you have so many consecutive third downs that they keep not getting off the field, it gets
The
so annoying. Oh my
it's
god.
it was I think it would have been fine if it wasn't for the music after every single play.
That part of it,
You know what I
and at
mean?
least where our seats were, which we had great seats, like we had a
Yeah,
great view of everything and
yeah,
relatively cheap too. The
yeah,
speaker, the huge speaker was right behind us
yeah.
too, and just going
Dude,
directly into our eardrums.
if you're gonna play a siren every third down, we don't need music every after every play. We
Yeah,
just don't.
yeah,
Like, or at least not full blasted music.
yeah,
It was relentless, and I think in terms of that, that is definitely the worst. Just that aspect of like the music and the sound and just the annoyingness of that.
yeah,
That was the worst I've been to, and I've been to massive stadiums.
yeah.
That is definitely the worst
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But
not enough
oh,
to kill the experience.
no, no. Overall, I had a great time. I think the stadium
Yeah.
it's on the smaller side, so like you can't compare it to like an Ohio State or anything like that. But
No,
I think it's very like kind of homey and gives a little bit of nostalgia. They
it's
have
very easy to access. At
oh
least
yeah,
from
yeah,
Connecticut where we are, it's a much easier drive than going towards New York.
yep,
You get in a lot, you get into a school bus, they 9-minute drive to the stadium,
mhm,
5-minute drive back. It was very seamless,
yeah,
very
yeah.
easy.
Not a ton of walking either,
Yeah, no.
and like the stadium itself, like they had a lot of like I don't know, I guess like history, like they have their retired numbers in one
Yeah.
end zone, and then like kind of not memorials, but like different things of like players who have been there
It
before.
reminded me it reminded me a lot about of Army Stadium,
Mhm,
Mikey Stadium.
mhm.
Um, not quite on that level just because of the scenery and there's actual concrete. The whole Boston College thing is metal. It's all metal.
Yeah,
Everything is metal.
yeah, yeah,
But like that's fine. I didn't mind too much of, obviously too much of that because it doesn't make a difference.
yeah.
But it definitely gave me just like, a not like you said, not an Ohio State, but in some ways, was it better than Ohio State Stadium? No.
Mhm.
But my wife also didn't have to sit in the steps. She did
Well,
in
that's
Ohio
what
State.
happens when you're cramming in 105,000 people
That's what I
in the
mean.
shoe, man.
Like congratulations that you can fit 105,000 people, but you can't. I promise you, you can't.
Says you.
Yeah.
No, but I yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And I will say too, like nothing, no, like the fans weren't too like belligerent, very very kind.
No, they
It
were
was a
fine.
nice family environment, right? But still some passion too.
No
Like
issues.
like towards the end,
Erica
everyone's
was
getting into
sitting
it.
Yeah, Erica was sitting next to a guy, and he just started talking to her about Boston College and the game, and
Yeah,
I didn't have a problem at all.
yeah.
I'd say the biggest problem was Erica was a little bit overheated, and she went underneath to
Blame
get some
that to Mother
shade.
Nature, man. It said
Yeah,
high of
no, but
69, low of 58, cloudy.
no,
Nah, it was 80 degrees and sunny. I
but
got sunburn on my nose, man.
the workers told her to go sit down. They all came by and was like, "All right, everyone go find a seat," and
Oh,
nobody
really?
moved. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
that's
that.
why she came back. Well, I don't remember what point of the game it was, but that's why she came back was because the people were yelling to go sit, and it's like, all right, it's not affecting anything. Like literally, them standing there is not affecting a single thing.
Yeah, it's not they're not you're
Like,
not blocking a seat where or
yeah,
young
and I
people's
there's
seat
been
from
so
which you from.
many stadiums where people have stood in those areas, and it's never been a problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, loosen up a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
That's one thing. But overall, I think it was a great experience. I would definitely go back. I
I'd
think
go
it'd be
back.
cool to go back for like either a night game or um, a rivalry game. You know.
I think
But
that area would be pretty nice in the fall, like
oh
late
yeah,
fall.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
and
So
it's so easy because then you can go to Boston afterwards.
yeah, like we did. It was
Yeah, yeah,
great day trip for anyone
yeah,
in the area.
for sure.
Shout out to
And
BC. Hell yeah.
yeah, we were there till 12 because we
Yeah.
got home at like 2:30.
Right. Right. Because we had to get that Alabama game in.
Yeah, we
That
had
was
to.
something. We can't just drive back during that,
Yeah,
right?
no, no,
Yeah.
for sure not.
No, great time overall.
Yeah, I'd go back.
Oh,
I would definitely go back. My dad was kind of like all like, my dad has this thing where like he'll go to like the stadium. Like, I made a joke. I was like, yeah, he went to the stadium in 1860, and he still thinks it's the same because he has one bad experience.
that's it.
Even if he goes to the place 10 times or 11 times, 10 of them are great and one is bad. The one bad is all that's going to matter.
Hmm.
And that's what he's going to harp on.
Yeah.
And he's all he. I was getting a text when we were on our way, and it was Molly saying like, "Oh, I would have told him not to go there. It's so bad. You have to
Oh,
shuttle over, and you have to do this." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm
big
like,
love, man.
I texted my sister at 2:30 in the morning. I was like, it was literally fine. Everything was okay.
Of shock
Like,
to no one.
anyways, yeah. You got any more thoughts on Boston College?
No, definitely recommend it to anyone who would want to go.
Yeah, especially if you're in the New England area.
Hmm.
Tickets were cheap.
Oh, very, very,
Like
yes,
what was it, 20-30 bucks?
30. Yeah,
And the parking was more expensive.
it was. It really was.
The parking
Yeah.
was more expensive ticket to ticket.
Now, if you want like higher, not to throw UConn under the bus, but higher quality college football that isn't like overly expensive in a New England area, BC's the spot to go. That's good.
I agree,
Even though UConn
BC, just
is
because,
winning
like I
some
said,
games, but
it's Power Five ball, right?
yeah,
It's not like a packed stadium, and
mhm,
I'd say it's very kid friendly stadium.
yeah,
And then you have Boston 20-30 minutes away.
yeah,
It's an easy trip.
yep. Great environment overall.
Yeah. On to the new top 12. In this order from 1 to 12: Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Miami, Missouri, Michigan, USC, Ole Miss. I think pretty spot on.
I got no issues with it. I think, um, yeah, I would definitely put Alabama over Texas. Like Texas's win against Michigan isn't looking
As good.
as good. I mean, it's
And
still a
they
good
haven't
win.
really played anyone else.
Right, right. And I think Quinn Ewers comes back next week, I
Yeah,
think,
I
or
think next
maybe
week.
the following one of the next 2 weeks. So they'll be kind of their full team then. Um, yeah, I don't really have any other issues necessarily with this. And we're once we get into more conference play, then this will really shake up a lot more. We're
Yeah,
still like kind of like, okay, we're just playing schools we paid to beat the crap out of,
yeah,
So
yeah,
give it some time. This will shake up a little bit more.
for sure. And you got a lot of SEC teams in there.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, I don't
5,
know if you had seen
6.
this or not, Walt, but
Half the teams are the SEC.
well, that's a perfect time to make a segue here. I saw that with the next, I don't know what the term is, contract, I guess you could say, with the playoff, the Big Ten and SEC are looking for 4 automatic bids each for the playoff. Yeah, I don't like that.
What?
That is literally
No.
a third of the spots, and like we'll see how this plays out. First year of the 12-team playoff, we'll see how it plays out the next few years. Maybe that's how it kind of shakes out anyway, just with how the rankings are. I don't think it'll be that way, but I think that that's way too much for each conference, and it's kind of feel it makes me feel like
Who
we're
would be the
trending.
fourth best team in that for each
I
conference?
know, I know, and they probably like fourth.
What are we gonna get to? We're gonna get fucking Vanderbilt is in?
Hey, you never know.
Like
Um,
what?
no, but I think that that's a little excessive.
That's too
Uh,
excessive.
yeah, and it kind of it discourages the you know teams from less conferences. But I also think um, that oh, I just had my thought. I lost it. Amateurs, people. That'll come back to me. I don't think this is a good idea overall.
No, for sure not. Like you're killing the point of college football. Like if you have four teams, I want to actually do some research on this. So I'm gonna write this
Yeah,
down.
we don't have to go. We don't have to go crazy into it. I remember my thought.
No, but I
So
definitely want to write this down.
yes. So my thought was that like if that is the case, then this is kind of morphing college football or could be morphing college football again, where it's basically just conference like how the NFL is AFC, NFC, right? So like
Yeah,
Big Ten, SEC. So like all these teams are just going to be in two conferences, and there's going to be
yeah,
no other. I mean, there will be other conferences, but like not ones that like quote unquote matter for the playoff, which I don't necessarily like. I like having the different conferences and like different styles of play and
yeah,
tradition, right? So
yeah.
yeah, look into that one more. That one I had heard. Uh,
I wanna.
the
I just wanna.
other day.
I just want to specifically look into who would be those third and fourth bids
Yeah,
because that could easily end up being a what 6-6 team.
that's tougher to say though because like say the Big Ten. So as let's see, as of right now, that would be Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and USC. So is one of those teams going to be 6-6? Probably not, right?
Maybe, probably not, but I mean, you gotta fast forward a little bit and try to look into the future of college football because it's changing a lot right now. And another topic we're going to talk about is the NILs and everyone bouncing around, stop playing mid-season. Indiana just had a player redshirt.
Yeah.
One of their top guys just redshirt, so that could change your season like that.
Mhm.
And like this season is still young, right? If you look into like Michigan, I could easily if they get into the meat and potatoes of their season, if their offense keeps going the way they're going, I could see them easily with 4 or 5 losses.
You're saying like guys like quitting the season going to the transfer portal?
Yeah.
That's a possibility. I think we might
But
be
even
at a
just the standpoint of like just take Michigan with their lackluster offense and they get into the meat and potatoes of their schedule and they could easily drop 4 or 5 games, right? Because you never know what happens. And then you're trying to tell me that even if they're not 6-6, 7-5, 8-4 are in the playoffs.
yeah. They should in that case they shouldn't be with like
There was a few teams that went 7-5 last year that didn't even make a bowl game.
yeah. No, it's a great point. I don't like it, and it's although it is the conference that my favorite team plays in, I think it's a little bit of favoritism towards those teams, which we have seen in the past. That's kind of what they go with for the playoff. Now, the teams that have not been from those conferences, the Big Ten, like the SEC, have they been so successful in the playoff? Not necessarily. We see like Cincinnati, um, when Washington wasn't in the Big Ten prior to them making the final last year. They had made it before and they got smacked by Alabama. Um, so, I think that there is definitely some bias, and I hope it doesn't go to this level.
That's too far.
Hmm.
That's too far. Um, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about this next week.
Yeah,
I think
we can
I
touch
want to
base
do
on
some more research into that.
that.
Um, we mentioned it just a quick second ago. Obvious one, UNLV quarterback. Um,
Sluka.
Sluka he got promised a certain amount of money. Allegedly, this is what happened. Got promised a certain amount of money. Coaches in school didn't come through. He ended up redshirting, so he sits out the whole season. Then he's going to transfer. After that, I think there's about 2 more players that I know of also did the same thing.
One from UNLV, I think, and then Bear Alexander from USC, I think,
Yep,
also redshirted.
and then the latest I heard was the Indiana player.
Yes.
I think he
Yep.
was a wide receiver or something like that.
Mhm.
What a mess they've created with this. I I'm all and I was always all for the players getting paid. I'm stupid because I thought it'd come out with a little bit more structure, but it's the NCAA, so
It's
why
the
would they do that?
NCAA,
Yeah,
exactly.
why would they do that? That was stupid of me to think that.
Mhm.
But there there's no rhyme, no reason to how this is going down. The players aren't being protected. I've heard a few rumors of kids signing contracts where once they make it to the NFL, whoever they're with gets 30% of their salary. What are you doing? You're a kid, that's what you are. You're
Yeah.
a kid negotiating money that you don't understand and you're giving it to people that don't give a crap.
Yeah. They're not in there for your best interest either.
Yeah, and this was a while ago I heard this 30% number. I don't even know what player it was,
Mhm.
but it's the aspect of so these kids barely have agents or barely have anyone guiding them with this money. And places are just like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you all this money, but then once you make it here, 30% of your salary."
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. There's no rules and regulations with it, which makes it just a crapshoot with some of these teams. And
And
the
it's a
schools
free
don't
for
really
all.
know like what the schools don't really know like what they're allowed to and not allowed to do. The players don't necessarily know, so like we're just kind of like, okay, we'll just see what happens. So
It's too much in the air,
yeah.
and I teams at what point do I don't really know. Like I don't know how you coach knowing that a player can literally just say see you later midseason.
It's funny. I was listening to, I think, the Ryan Russillo podcast, and he was telling me, or not telling me, I don't talk to him. I feel like I talked to him, or at least I talked to him in my car. But he was saying that um, there was one team that he was talking to last year, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's pretty good." And the whoever the personnel was for the team, he's like, "Oh yeah, he's not going to be here next year," just because he knew he was going to transfer
Yeah.
for more money with the NIL, and that's you know you understand you want to make as much money as you can, fine, whatever. But it does take away that um, the fun part of the game with it, where it's like you have these players that are so passionate about the schools that they go to. They just want to play. They just want to improve their game and make a name for themselves. And no,
There's no more fight. There's no more fight.
no, no,
It's oh, our team is 2-2 now. We were supposed to be 4-0. So instead of figuring out, fighting through it, and becoming better for it, I'm just going to transfer out, and go get money somewhere else.
hmm yeah.
It's what it's
You
become,
don't
and
see it
it's
a ton. And I'll just speak to an Ohio State situation because that's what I know best. With last year, Kyle McCord, I've said he didn't light the world on fire, whatever. He ended up going to Syracuse. I don't know if he got more NIL money or if he was just didn't like the situation at Ohio State, whatever. Um, but his backup at the time, Devin Brown, who was in competition with him prior to the season, when Will Howard transferred in, Devin Brown stayed. He stuck it out. He's like, I still think I could be a quarterback for this team, and I'm still gonna try, and I'm not going anywhere. So players like what we were just talking about, they do still exist, but they'd be far and few between as we would like. So you would like to see them do a little bit more of that, where they kind of
yeah.
stick things out and don't just transfer here, transfer there, and just trying to make as much money and
Maybe put a cap
trying.
on transfers. How many you could transfer?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's another solution that's floated out there. But really, we just need to have like more rules with this stuff. Like that's just what the
That, and
NCAA
we
needs
just
to
got to
do.
make sure the kids are actually getting protected and not
Yeah,
scammed.
no,
I
that's part
think
of it too.
that's like a big thing too.
Mhm.
My big thing out of this is I think this is going to end up helping smaller schools. I think you're going to end up seeing more smaller schools be bigger schools because these big schools are going to have all these kinds of distractions.
Yep.
And I I think the closest we can compare with the NIL is just like something like this unprecedented thing that can kind of derail your team would be when sitting out for bowl games first started happening. And I think part of the reason Army and Navy are 4-0 right now is because there's no NIL, there's there's pretty much no professional like outcome
Aspirations.
there,
Yeah.
aspirations there. It's just it's just kids wanting to play football and wanting to win more and not caring about anything else. And I'm going to talk about a few years ago Army played Houston in a bowl game and Army ended up winning 70-14 because Houston had some sit outs and it's like they had sit outs but Army just wanted it more.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see over the course of a couple years that like into this NIL thing of how much it is really going to affect the camaraderie of the bigger schools. And I wonder if more group of five schools will pick up wins like that.
Yeah. As we've seen, the college game is changing, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
doubt that. But you said in a few years we'll see how it goes. But things are going to change even before then too.
Yeah.
Maybe the rules change with NIL where I think it's been floated out there that with some of these deals there's like stipulations in them that okay if you make a bowl game you got to play, otherwise you don't get your money.
Yeah.
That kind of solves the like sitting out part, right?
That was an immediate thought of my dad's actually was if you set out a game, my dad is heavy old school, but one thing I do believe in is now you're getting NILs, but you're also getting a free ride to a school. If you sit
Yeah.
out a game, you should be penalized.
Hmm.
Boom, pay back some of your tuition.
Yeah, do something.
Just yeah, and not even some because they'll be able to afford it. Pay back all your tuition
Mhm.
because that scholarship could have gone to somebody else.
Yeah, you're right.
That would
That
have
would have
probably
that
played.
would yeah, yeah, played and tried a little harder
Yeah,
to go out there first team.
yeah, for sure. So it's a whole mess that's going to go down, and I'm sure this is not going to be the first time we're going to be talking about this.
Mhm.
Um, quick Heisman update: Travis Hunter, Jalen Milrow, Ashton Genty, and Cam Ward. I think Jalen jumped up from last week, if I recall. I don't really remember. I think Jalen might have been just outside of the top four. I could be wrong though.
I don't remember. Well, I know we did talk about him last week, so he
Yeah,
might have been top four, but
yeah,
we kind of had him on the lower side. But
yeah,
win a game against Georgia in the way that you did,
yeah.
you're going to get a little more recognition.
I'm actually surprised he already hasn't jumped Travis Hunter just from the stigma of being a quarterback.
Nah, I mean he could.
Yeah,
Just give it more time, though. Have him get more big wins under his belt, and he very well could.
yeah. I don't have too much on the Heisman's other than that.
No.
Last few things. UTSA is leaving Conference USA for the Mountain West.
Mhm.
There's been a few things going on with the group of five conferences. Um, I believe the American tried to get a few of the Mountain West teams,
Mhm.
like one being Air Force. They turned it down. They're going to stay in the Mountain West. But now the Mountain West has lost multiple teams to the Pac 12.
Yeah.
So now it looks like the Mountain West is in trouble. But then
Ever
now they
changing
add,
environment. It's
yeah,
just it
now
never
they
ends.
add UTSA. It's like it's crazy. The conferences are going to change as much as the players are changing.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like we're never going to get into a settled spot. And like these things take time.
No,
I get that. Like I think Texas was slated to go to the SEC like 2-3 years ago, maybe.
yeah,
Right. So these things do take
Texas and
time.
Oklahoma started this whole thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then it's just snowballed from there.
It
But
ended in K. It's ending in. I wouldn't even say K.
not even
I
ending.
like the shakeup. I kind of like the shakeup, and I like the chaos of it because it's fun. Because now you're going to be playing new schools, new teams.
I
I
still
don't
like the
know.
tradition though. Like I
I was going to say that. I like even when Texas A&M moved into the Southeastern Conference, what are they doing in the Southeastern Conference? Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, compared to the NFL, the NFC East, the Cowboys, even though they're in
Yeah,
Texas. So yeah,
yeah,
I feel like some and
it's
um,
so stupid.
wasn't Cal in the ACC?
Yeah,
Yeah, the Atlantic Coast Conference, which
yeah,
is the
yeah,
other side of the country.
yeah. And then you got Oregon in the freaking Big Ten.
It's aren't there 18 teams? It's not
Big
like it's my point.
Big
Like
Ten, I
none of
think
this
of
makes sense.
Midwest.
Yeah, yeah. No,
That's what I think of.
none of this stuff makes sense anymore. But we're just here for the ride. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna get, I think, even crazier before it starts to settle a little bit.
Oh yeah. Give it a few years.
Especially, I think conferences are all in a panic mode of like, no, we can't be the conference that dies because at first it was the Pac-12,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, by Pac-12. Then they were like, nope, we'll take some from the Mountain West, and now the Mountain West is like, help.
Who are we
Like,
taking from now? Yeah.
yeah, a conference is going to end up going, I think.
I mean, yeah. With the condensing, like SEC gained Oklahoma, Texas, Big Ten has UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington. You know,
You know what I think should happen?
hmm,
I think one of these lower conferences should call teams like Vanderbilt and be like, hey, let's face facts. You got no chance. Why don't you come over with us?
yeah, but they
I
want to be able to say like, hey, look, we're in the SEC, like,
Yeah,
or
we're in the
be able to
SEC. We
market to
get
their
our
players. You're going to play at an SEC school, right?
Wait, you ever see that clip of that Vanderbilt player? They're like, yeah, you're gonna know what type of ball we play, and then the very next week they lose like 60-0 to Alabama.
I think I did see that. Yeah, no, that's being a
Yeah,
little too cocky for a Vanderbilt player. But
yeah. I'm just saying, maybe a few of those like schools that just have no hope in the SEC, and it's not even like you can't even say, oh, they'll get it eventually. Like Vanderbilt's been in there forever. It's not happening.
not making much progress.
It's
Yeah,
not happening.
yeah.
So maybe some of those smaller schools drop down, but we'll probably not. But who knows? I can't say put anything past anything. But
Time will tell.
yeah, uh, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right, so we'll end it there.
Hmm.
Um, week 6 already.
It's flying by. I don't like it.
I This is the part of the season where I'm like trying to hit the brakes on a car, but it's not gonna
It's not,
like.
it's not working. I'm pumping it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, overall fun weekend.
Mhm.
Hopefully another good slate of games this week.
Yeah. Just wait till not this weekend, next weekend. That
That's gonna
is
be
the
nuts.
doozy. That's that we got a lot to talk about for that one.
That's gonna be nuts.
Hmm.
All right.
All right. Until next time. Good talking.
Until next time.
Leader.